President Trump's one big, beautiful budget and tax bill that narrowly passed the House may face trouble in the Senate. A number of needed Senate Republican votes are in jeopardy because they believe the bill doesn't do enough to reduce the deficit. In addition, our next guest says more needs to be done to prevent future presidents from overturning the deregulation efforts of a president. Well, here to tell us more is Phil Kerpen, president of American Commitment. Phil, first, what are your thoughts on this one big, beautiful budget and tax bill? What do you think must be done to get it passed by the U.S. Senate?
Well, I give this bill a solid B. I think it's got the really key provisions that we need to see in there, extending all of the Trump tax cuts, bringing back accelerated expensing for businesses, 100% bonus depreciation. That's really important to get the economy moving again. It extends the individual rate cuts, the small business cuts, and it's got some significant spending reforms, although clearly not as many as we would have liked to see. So I think that it's a victory for the American people. It'd be very positive for the economy, and I'm hoping that the Senate will be able to either improve it or pass it as is at the very least.
Well, I want to remind our viewers some of the other things that the bill passed by the House would eliminate are taxes on tips, keep the Trump tax cut, provide money for the border wall, border protection, reduce spending by $1.5 trillion. But, Phil, you say it doesn't do enough to secure deregulation. So tell us about that and the need for passage of the REINS Act. What is it and what would it do?
Yeah, the REINS Act is really, in my opinion, the key unfinished business from the Tea Party era. This was a bill, it was invented by a remarkable guy named Lloyd Rogers from Northern Kentucky, former Navy veteran, a Navy veteran and a former local elected official there. Back in that Tea Party summer when the town halls were roiling, he went to his town hall meeting, went up to his congressman, brought a constitution and his water bill, and he said, "Congressman, my constitution right here says all legislative power is vested in a Congress, but my water bill right here says that it's going to double because of EPA stormwater management rules that you never voted on. So how is that allowed? How is that allowed under our Constitution?" And his congressman kind of scratched his head and said, "You know what, you're right. We should have voted on that. We should have to vote on that." And this is a bill that would require any significant new regulation to get prior approval from Congress, House and Senate majorities before it could take effect, instead of the way it works now where agencies can do more or less whatever they want unless you can somehow muster enough votes to stop them. So this would really be a sea change in the whole process of how federal regulation works. And I think we'd be able to stop really all of the worst regulations, even when they're Democrats running the House, Senate, and White House, if we had this requirement that Congress actually vote on these. And, I think that if we had that process in place, we'd be able to, as I said, stop a lot of the worst and also stop this pendulum from swinging so wildly with presidential elections.
Phil, I think a lot of people don't understand how important deregulation really is to Trump's economic agenda. So why is it needed? What needs deregulating?
Well, it's absolutely critical. First of all, the energy area, which is so crucial, and there are many energy provisions that have stayed in this bill, whether REINS is in or not, reversing a lot of the Green New Scam, as the president called it, giveaways from the Inflation Reduction Act. But regulations have driven up the cost of energy tremendously in this country, which not only means you pay more on your bills and at the pump, but you pay more for everything grown, shipped, and manufactured, which is everything. We also have a lot of financial regulations that have made it very expensive to be involved in the financial system. We have lots of regulations on public companies that have made it very difficult to access public capital markets in this country, denying capital for early stage companies to grow, as well as investment opportunities for regular folks who can buy public companies. We've got massive amounts of labor regulation. We've got massive amounts of land and water regulation. So really any area of policy you think about. I didn't even get into healthcare, which is probably the most overrated sector in our whole economy. And so you look at kind of everything across the board, and there are a lot of different studies out there that kind of try to measure the impact of federal regulation. It's an inexact science, but every study has it in the trillions of dollars. So it rivals taxation at this point as a cost on the economy. And Biden was the biggest regulator in world history. Casey Mulligan from the University of Chicago, who, by the way, is tab to be Trump's deregulations are, but he's waiting for Senate confirmation. He has been for months now. But his analysis found that just the new regulations in the 4 years of Biden had an average cost per household of about $47,000. So we're talking very, very large expenses that have been imposed on the American people. Now, the biggest of all the Biden regulations was the electric vehicle mandates, which Trump has sort of put on hold, and we hope are going to be permanently repealed in the one big beautiful bill. And so The worst of the worst may be repealed. But remember, Trump repealed those his first time in office when Obama did them, and Biden brought them right back. So if we could somehow fix the process so that Democrats can't just bring these very expensive regulations right back, we'd be in a much better place going forward.
Okay, deregulate and lower taxes. What a concept. Phil Kerpen, American Commitment President. Thank you, Phil, for joining us.
Thanks, Gary.